r/ask Reddit. What are some things you should cheap out on? Dogs. I've gotten all mine from the pound. I can't justify spending $1,200 on a purebred when all my pound puppies have been fabulous companions. Edit. My response kind of blew up. Also, thanks for the gold. I will absolutely pay it forward. I love all the interesting responses and personal stories. I'll try to respond to as many as I can. I walked out of the ASPCA with my spayed and microchipped puppy plus a small bag of science diet plus collar plus tag for $20 because it's a high kill shelter and they were trying to clear out as many dogs as possible. Best money ever spent. The same applies to cats. All 3 of mine are rescues. Heck, you can still rescue purebred animals. One of mine is a Siamese, and the other a Balinese. They're both incredibly sweet. So is a short hair tabby we got a few weeks ago. HDMI cables, no difference between the $2 and $100 ones. Edit. First post over 10 upvotes, thank you kind souls. Edit 2. Reddit gold. You guys made my week, thank you so much. I'd go with the $5.10 version over the $2 one. I bought a bunch of really cheap cords online thinking I was saving money and a lot of them just stopped working after a few months. Upgraded a few dollars and they're perfect. This X2. There is a difference between the $2 and $10 ones, but not between the $10 and $100 ones. Common OTC meds. The generic versions are usually half the cost and contain the exact same active ingredients. Farm tech here. Generics have to maintain a very narrow bioequivalency standard in comparison to brand name meds. The drug chemical itself is to be the same and prove its therapeutic effectiveness is no different than brand name. Generics all the way. Edit. Wanted to address a few things. As stated, I am a pharmacy technician, not a pharmacist. I would be happy to suggest anyone with specific medicine related questions to please direct them to their doctor/pharmacist. I am not qualified to answer those sorts of questions. And as much as I would love to help you, I'm only just starting the application process to pharmacy school. With generics as well as brands, your mileage may vary depending on you as an individual. These statements apply in a general sense, and as every individual is unique, they may not apply to you, your mom, cousin, spouse, friend, etc. I may have answered your question already in the comments below. Please read them prior to asking me. I was not expecting an exploding inbox. Haha. After all, people in the medical field are more likely to buy generic meds than your everyday Joe. According to the Wall Street Journal, excerpt, education matters. People who have gone to college are more likely to buy generic headache remedies than those that don't. But not as much as occupation. Nurses and pharmacists, for example, generally have less education than lawyers, but they are more likely to know what the ingredients were in brand name remedies, and to buy generics instead. Clothing for your infant children. My son grows out of his stuff so fast it seems he wears some outfits only once. Wrap in paper towels. Got it. Never clothe them. Got it. Plants. If you enjoy gardening, ask your neighbors if they have any plants that are growing too enthusiastically that you can have a bit of. You know already that they love the local soil climate and won't be spending a fortune on plants that refuse to thrive. What a lovely recommendation. Or ask older relatives who garden. I have plants growing in my backyard that I divided from plants that my grandfather gave my parents in the 1960s. Ducking water. Stop buying bottled water, people. There are better solutions. Upvote for the pun. But water is a compound. Subscribing to Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime is much cheaper than getting basic cable. Plus you get content you see from the premium channel. Yep, unless you like watching live sports. Edit 1. Going to copy another user in a different subthread on this topic elsewhere in the post. See below. For those of you who keep suggesting go to a bar, here are some reasons why that's stupid. I hate this stupid bar argument. It's dumb as duck. Do you want to be forced to go to the bar to watch any TV show? That's stupid. Edit 2. Antennas are often not a viable option either. Many cities, such as Philadelphia where I live, do not broadcast local games over the air as they have a contract with a local cable channel. Furthermore, most people who enjoy sports in general want to watch more than just the local team or nationally televised games. Finally, I don't live where my favorite sports teams are, so for me personally, an antenna would be useless. Edit 3. Stop suggesting streams. The only quality ones right now are the ones which can be bought from the various sports leagues in packages, which will quickly cost more than cable if you enjoy more than one sport. Pirated streams, while free, suck ducking ass. Would you be fine watching the latest Walking Dead or Game of Thrones in less than standard definition, with frequent audio sync problems and frequent buffering issues? No, I didn't think so. Literally 90% of free streams suffer from every one of these problems. This is exactly the problem I have with transitioning to online streaming services. There is none for sports. ESPN Geo will ask you for your cable subscription information for you to watch it. I'd totally rather pay a small amount per month for my football than buy a cable package that's not even worth that. Lamborghinis. Why spend $500,000 on a Lamborghini Aventador when you can get a 2014 Lamborghini Gallardo for less than $200k? People are still going to swoon over your car. 99% of the people who see it won't be able to tell the difference, and those who can probably have one of their own. People buy the newest model to impress their rich friends, not the poor plebs who are gawking at them. The man has a point. School supplies. You're gonna lose or break the nicer stuff anyway. Ticonderoga pencils. Ticonderogas are the greatest pencils I've used. Shameless plug. http://www.reddit.com/Ticonderoga. I find that expensive indestructible dog toys generally last as long as cheap ones. Not so with tennis balls. The PetSmart brand ones are destroyed in seconds, while Tough Made or Tough Built or whatever last forever. I usually get my dog racket balls. They're super durable and she always rips all the fuzz off anyway. Saves me the mess. Yellow mustard. Not ketchup. Must be Heinz. Cheap out by not buying it. Spicy brown. Only way to go. Different foods call for different mustards. If I'm eating a ham sandwich, brown mustard is good. If I'm eating a bologna sandwich, yellow mustard is more suitable than brown. Weddings. Better off putting a deposit down on a house. While investing, always prefer cheaper index funds over the costly actively managed funds. Edit. Since many people here have already explained the logic behind it, all I can add now is this. Also, folks interested in learning about financial planning and investing may want to check out r/personal finance and r/investing. And if you do not have the time inclination for learning but are just looking for good and reliable advice, your search ends here. Could you please explain? Mutual funds and ETFs charge for their services in managing the fund via fees that are deducted from the pool of money the fund controls. This is called the management expense ratio, MER, and could be anywhere from 0.1% to 3+%. Some funds charge far more than others. Often the funds where the managers are following a complex strategy and making many trades charge more. Studies have shown that it is not worth it to pay higher fees as those funds don't perform any better on average. After fees, TL. Doctor, for the most part you should choose investments with the lowest possible expense ratio in order to maximize your return. To illustrate, let's say Johnny banks with TD Bank. I'm in Canada. His bank advisor is setting him up with mutual funds and recommends he put some money into the TD Emerging Markets Fund because this is the fund the bank offers to get exposure to emerging market stocks. The expense ratio is 2.87%, meaning that 2.87% of all the money pooled in that fund will be skimmed off by the fund managers as expenses. Incidentally, the bank advisor will earn some commission or sales revenue from his sale. Now there might be a legitimate reason to go with this particular fund, such as the fund manager is known to be a high performer. Or maybe the advisor didn't discuss any alternatives with Johnny since the advisor might only be able or incented to sell the bank's funds. But Johnny should at least be aware of the fact that as an alternative, he could get similar exposure to emerging market stocks using an ETF such as ZEC, iShares Core MSCI Emerging Markets IMI Index ETF. This ETF holds stocks such that it mirrors the MSCI Emerging Markets Index. The expense ratio is only 0.37%. The difference is mainly because a monkey could manage the ETF since they just mirror the stocks in the index. The TD fund also underperformed the index in the last year, but that's just one data point. On average, it's very unlikely that Johnny will be getting his money's worth by paying 5% more off the top every year for the TD mutual fund. Marriage. We were both 35, had been living together for 8 years, and had a child. We didn't need a wedding. We paid $55 for the license and $100 for the person to do the legally required ceremony. We had a few friends and family there, but that was it. After throwing away $35 I envy you. There is a difference between a wedding and a marriage. Skimp on the wedding. Invest in the marriage. Edit. Forgot a conjunction. If you're at Costco, anything Kirkland. I trust any brand that makes jeans and pizza. And they do both pretty well. Cleaning supplies. I'd rather get bleach and such from the dollar store, rather than pay triple that at a grocery store. Oh man. The dollar store by me has this great multi-purpose cleaner that is good for cleaning up messes in the house as well as getting gunk off of the rims on your car. Last totally awesome is totally awesome. Magic erasers. Go on Amazon and buy 90mm foam pads for $7. Magic erasers. Go on Amazon and buy 90mm foam pads for $7. 90? Wow there, you ducking supervillain. Are you trying to erase the world or something? The last guy who asked him that is nowhere to be found. It's almost like he's been at it. Reddit gold. Thank you kind stranger. I share tears of happiness. Emo, if you're making a new computer you can really cheap out on the optical drive. You'll maybe use it 5 times. And by the time you need to replace it, open bracket, if at all, you might not even need one anymore. On this note, even the highest rated optical drives are still only $15.20 on sites like Newegg. However, never ever cheap out on your SU. Some groceries. Go for the no-name brand. Same thing. Except Pop-Tarts man. Trust me. Came here to say exactly this. Those double fudge generic ones are literally cardboard. Edit. I had no idea Reddit shared my intense hatred for Walmart Pop-Tarts. Thanks. Edit. Part 2. This is literally 3x higher than my last top comment, which was about my boobs. WTH. Reddit. Drinking. Just threw €100 away yesterday and I am starting to run out of money. Yeah, was ducking stupid. Yep, if you go out to a bar or club you should really always pre-game. Much cheaper, and you don't have to be in a club while still sober. Cable. Because HBO's new app. I often try to buy refurbished electronics. For something I want, I look at the refurb process as being one more level of product testing. This is good advice for cars, although not for buying a rebuild. I mean, I've owned brand new cars, and things break or come broken from the factory. If you buy a car that's 1 year old, someone else has driven out the kinks for you. It makes more sense to have someone else deal with the headaches, and you save the depreciation. That being said, buying newer cars is a bad idea entirely, but some people can't be talked out of it. Death rays. Dead is a binary thing. All death rays make you dead, whether they cost $1, 000, 000, 000, 000 or $1, 000, 000, 000. Kitchen appliances and bakeware if you're share housing. If you buy a $100 kettle or a $10 kettle, someone will find a way to break either one just as easily. I disagree with this one. When I was a student and was sharing a house, we pooled the cash for a cheap-ass microwave that lasted maybe a week. Obviously don't go all out on the most expensive stuff out there, but the bargain basement tier is not worth it, emo. Got to disagree. I bought a $10 pan and the Teflon is coming off and it's warped because my roommates don't know how to set the heat on a gas stove. My old iron skillet is still as good as the day it was made. Wine. Not to a ridiculous level, but there are a gazillion studies which show that even professional sommeliers cannot distinguish cheap wine from very expensive wine. Own brand snacks, cereals, other basic foodstuffs. For example, I always get Lidl's own brand version of Snickers. I always get bread that's baked in the store. Own brand crisps and biscuits. Own brand Weetabix, etc. etc. All that stuff is exactly the same as the premium stuff, except it's 1/2 of the price. Once you start going to the meats and more fancy foods, I generally avoid stuff like Sainsbury's Basics ham. Edit. Just to add some clarity, a lot of the more basic kinds of food are made in the same factory as the name brand stuff. For example, Sainsbury's don't have their own factory just to make all that food. If they did, then they would have to have a shitload of factories, since there is a store brand version of pretty much every item they sell. Edit. For people from the future reading this, don't actually skimp on Weetabix. I just typed in the first cereal I could think of, but as someone who replied to me pointed out, Weetabix ripoffs go soggy in about 0.1 seconds after you add milk. Spend some of the money you save by buying store brand Snickers on the proper Weetabix. I agree and disagree. Sometimes the store brand just doesn't taste the same. My boyfriend always loves to buy the cheaper stuff, which is fine a lot of the time. But he once bought store brand tortilla chips, and they tasted like cardboard with some salt on it. I'm not even kidding. When we first got together, he laughed when I grabbed a package of Bounty paper towels, saying they were much too expensive, and he knew a place where we could get them for 79 cents a roll. He bought a ton of them. The first time I went to use one, I ran it under the tap, wrung out the extra water, and I couldn't open the paper towel up again. It just tore to shreds. If you dried your hands on them, you would be left with paper towel bits all stuck to your skin or whatever surface you tried to dry. Like I said, though, I also agree. There have been many times the store brand is exactly the same as brand name. I'm not going to pay more money for some brand name aluminum foil when the store brand is cheaper, and I get a lot more. Reminds me of people who buy cheap single-ply toilet paper. Are you really saving money when you have to use 3x more than a decent 2-ply? Art supplies. You aren't that good yet to it to make a difference, and it's more important that you do a large amount of work to improve. I've seen more impressive things done with simple standard HB pencils, crayons and newsprint than expensive supplies. This heavily depends on the type of art. I do a lot of art, and when I try for new styles and mediums, I do my best to get at least mid-quality brands. I went for Hobby Lobby's in-house pastel once and hated those pieces of shit. They were almost unusable. A few months later I decided to shell out and get some of the mid-high priced ones. Can't remember the name at the moment, sorry, and it made one hell of a difference. Pastels still aren't my cup of tea, but the difference was pretty big. Driving. Bicycling is free, good for your body and mind, and depending on your city, will get you to your destination faster. Source: Toronto. Wear a helmet. Edit. I should have specified. I have both a car and a bike, and often it's best to save on gas and ride the latter when it's convenient. For those of you who live far from work, I guess my suggestion doesn't really count. Open bracket. But it'll get you in great shape though. Not everyone lives in a city. Some people live in the middle of who gives a duck, where weather can be anywhere in the range of 100 plus to -10. I worked with a guy in Oslo who biked to work every day, 11 kilometers each way, from one of the local suburbs, along the bike path. I thought he was in his late 40s. He was 67. Norwegians are made of tough stuff. College textbooks. Nothing worse than paying $150 plus for each damn textbook. It's totally illegal and I'd never suggest this, but some textbooks have PDF and EPUB versions that can be pirated. Combined with a cheap Android tablet, you have every textbook you'd ever need. I'd never suggest doing this and saving hundreds of dollars, though. Definitely don't use the following Google format: name of textbook, buy rent file type, PDF. HDMI cables don't really get better as they get more expensive. Unless you care about those that are 50 m long, don't bother getting expensive ones. Engagement rings. There's a famous article from 1982 called "Have You Ever Tried to Sell a Diamond?" It explains exactly how diamonds are a massive con. If you've never read it, your mind will be blown. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.